Hello and welcome to another video from the only channel that you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy. And today we're going to be talking about my food storage system. Now I've been like stockpiling food so ever since I was about 26 years old. When I was 18 I joined the military going out to save the world. I got to see what the military was actually about, and I knew that, I was in danger. Not from the bad guys that I had swore to protect America from, but from the U.S. military or U.S. government. So I never really felt comfortable just having enough food to get through the day, because I knew that the entire system was like a house of cards. So I started buying a lot of food, but I really never was what you'd call a prepper. A lot of the reasons for me having a bunch of food in my house, which is still the main reason today, is that I don't want to have to go to town to look for something to eat when I have a craving. So if I want some beans, I want to know that my beans are here, not 2 miles down the road. So that's a big part of it. I've always been kind of what you call a hermit, because people are just really, really vile. And anytime they see me, and they do really horrible things, even if they just act menacing, I'm not comfortable with that. And that's not anything to do with my hair, because this has been the way it's been since I was real little. But anyway, I've already done a video about my food storage system, probably 5 years ago. And so, and it's still up, but things have changed a little bit over time because, the longer you do this, the more you learn. And so we're going to go over some of that now. I guess I should have already had these cabinets open. We're going to talk about the upper cabinets first. And by the way, when I built the house, I actually designed the house in such a way that I could hoard food neatly. So we've got all of these things are just our basic essentials, the things that we go to a lot that are small enough to be in an upper cabinet. Big items go in the bottom, like rice and oil, things that are really big and heavy. But I can walk on these cabinets. This is wood. It's not press board, or it's not something you just buy at the store. I had this custom built, which wasn't that expensive. And this is really heavy duty. I've gotten up there with a broom and just swept. So it can take weight. As I'm going through this stuff, I'll tell you some of the things I've learned about each individual item and why I keep certain amounts of certain items and how that has changed over time. As I've gotten older, the things that I like have changed. My health has changed. I'm diabetic now, so even though I have not quit eating all sugar, I have gone through and kind of stopped stockpiling things that were mostly sugar. So, in fact, a lot of the stuff that we have here has been altered just for me, but also so that my wife and I can both eat it. I'm supposed to eat like Cheerios, and there's 2 big old bags of generic Cheerios up there, and you can see that there's some Cheerios in here because actually Cheerios are good for your cholesterol, good for your heart, and they are somewhat okay for diabetes. But I've got regular stuff up here like Sugar Smacks. Not really, but I've got like granola and things like that I'm really not supposed to eat. And if you look in this bag, you'll see that it's not just Cheerios, because I'll take and mix Cheerios in with this stuff, because I really don't like Cheerios. And I find that if I just put half of this like nuts and grains type cereals in here, that it still tastes pretty much like nuts and grains. And, cranberries, we get dry cranberries, dry raisins to put in there. Here is basically the stuff that we use for nachos. So I've got canned cheese, canned chili, and canned beans. Now, a lot of times if we're making nachos, we'll have some of those ingredients in the fridge, because I have a solar cooker which means it doesn't take any energy. You know, I don't have to purchase energy to cook beans. Beans take all day, and it's really, really inefficient to cook dry beans. So every day that there's sunshine, if I don't have a pot of refrigerated beans in the refrigerator, I'll cook some beans. And so we'll cook them until they're mush, and that'll be our refried beans. And the same thing with chili. A lot of times we'll take the beans we cook, dry beans we cook, and add ground meat and chili powder and bell peppers and onions and stuff. So we don't always use this when we're eating nachos, but that's just for a convenience. And another thing we really like to eat is burritos, because we've got this George Foreman grill over here, and sometimes I'll just take a whole package of wraps, put a little chili on there, or a little refried beans, and then put some sliced American cheese at the edge, so that when I roll it up, that cheese is near the outside. After I cook it, it makes it not want to fall open. Anyway, after the nachos thing is all canned meat. And yes, I know that that's unhealthy, but it's something you can store without refrigeration. And, you know, everybody eats this stuff. And I'm not a religionist, so I don't stick to, you know, organic or vegetarian or kosher or any of that stuff. And so it doesn't bother me at all. If it bothers you, then I'm sorry about that. But one of the things about it, you know, a lot of people who have these special diets that they won't veer from understand that a lot of the things in their diet cannot be stockpiled. And so they'll have something like this for an emergency. But the problem with that is that if this is not what you normally eat, you're going to end up throwing a lot of stuff away, because canned food can last a long time, but it doesn't last forever. And you really, you know, you need to be eating your stockpile, or it's just going to be wasteful. I never throw anything away at all, but sometimes some things get so bad that, you know, I have to give them to the dog. But in any case, or the chickens, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's because mostly the reason it's bad isn't because it's poison. It's bad because it just feels funny in your mouth and it tastes weird. And that doesn't bother chickens and dogs. So anyways, if you notice, I've got these really expensive, because these things are like $3 a can, sardines. And you know, you can go to the dollar store and get sardines for $1. But when I first became diabetic, I was having a lot of problems keeping it under control. And so someone suggested that I get some omega-3 fatty acids. And you can purchase them in pill form, but they're really, really expensive. And it's just, you swallow a pill and it's done. With this, even though it's expensive, I'm getting a little bit of a meal with my omega-3 fatty acids. And that's why these cost more than others, because they have that. So this little stockpile right here is probably $50 worth of sardines. We kind of refrained from eating. I was eating like a can a day for a while until I told the VA about it, and that's one of the few supplements they can prescribe at the VA. You see, the VA can only prescribe certain things, you know, and because they know that people who don't have any money get free medication, and I'm one of those people. And the doctor that I had said, well, that's one of the few things that we can prescribe for somebody that's not a prescription medication. So I get omega-3 fatty acids, and I take them every day, so I don't have to eat my expensive stockpile. Canned ham, it just tastes good. Spam, it tastes good too, and it's not as terrible as people say. Now, I've got tuna fish and all the regular stuff in there, but it's kind of behind, like some on top of the Spam, but the stack of my tuna fish actually runs behind the ham and the Spam, so it's there, and we do use that quite a bit. Canned mackerel is just more efficient financially. You know, it's like $1 a can for mackerel. Tuna fish is like $1 a can, but the cans are so much bigger and they have everything. Probably mackerel is better for you than tuna fish, but it has a fishier type taste, and so a lot of people don't want that in there, like if they make a tuna fish casserole or something, or even a sandwich. And here's this white chunk chicken in water, Vienna sausages. So that's all of my straight up meat right there. And I do think that it's, if you have a stockpile of food and it's not organized, you're not going to enjoy having it around, because it's just going to start feeling like clutter, you know, hoarding. And even though this is hoarding, if you hoard neatly and you can shut all the doors on this and your house looks normal. Down here is just sauces like, well, you know, ketchup and mustard and stuff. And yeah, I have way too much of that stuff, but it doesn't really go bad, with a few exceptions. Ketchup, when you purchase it at the store, is a bright red. And this is dark, like a dark color. When you store ketchup, the flavor will, you know, that changes a little bit. But for the most part, all that really changes about it is the color. So, you know, I used to stockpile like a full row of this stuff, or 2 rows. And I just figured, you know, since it does deteriorate, just have one. And it's not like I eat ketchup all the time. This was this color when I got it. Since I'm on VA disability and also on, you know, governmental disability, I qualify for a lot of programs. And one of those programs is a free food thing. So they give me a box of groceries every month. And this was in there, and it was already dark. Because basically what they give you is stuff that the grocery stores will donate, stuff that's out of date or whatever. And then the U.S. Department of Agriculture gives them some basics as well. But I end up with a lot of dented cans and a lot of things that are off date. All right, we get over here, and at the bottom, we have a whole bunch of ramen noodles. Now, it was never my intention to stockpile ramen noodles. It just happened because there's a kind of ramen noodle that we like. This is not really like the kind of ramen noodles you get at the grocery store. We get these at the Asian market. The ramen noodles from the grocery store are made with flour, which isn't really that good for you. The ramen noodles at the Asian grocery store are made with rice. And I've noticed that when I eat ramen noodles made of flour, my sugar goes up a lot higher than if I eat ramen noodles made with rice. It's just one of those things that's unique to me, maybe not to everybody. But I went and got a certain kind of ramen noodle, and then they said, and this one here may be the flour kind, but this one here is the one for sure that's from the Asian market. Oh, in fact, you know what? This is several different boxes of this stuff. And this is most of that is Asian market, and it is rice, actual rice noodles. If you notice on here, if you can see the picture, the noodles are fat and flat, and my wife doesn't like that. She wants the angel hair type. Well, when you get this stuff, the box is sealed, and it's all the writing on it's Chinese. You can't tell anything that's, you know, what's inside. So I tried to pick one that looked like the one I had before, and I got the wrong one. So I went back with an envelope, with a package, and I gave it to the lady at the store. She spoke English good enough that she knew what I was saying. Oh, yes, I know where this is. And she went and gave me this box. I brought it home. Same thing. Big. It's not the same noodles we like. But that's why we have 2 packages, 2 boxes, and we'll eat them eventually, but we don't crave them, so they are going to sit there a lot longer than they should. This is what ramen noodles normally looks like if you're a real Asian person and you're you know, cook at home. You make homemade meals. This is really great. You know, the way we, and we just finished off a pot of this, we'll take and cut up some pork or shrimp or something and chicken, cut up celery, bell peppers, onions, zucchini, whatever vegetables, put it all in a big wok and stir fry it. And then these you put into a pot of boiling water, turn the heat off, and a minute later strain them and dump them in there. It's like humongous gourmet ramen noodles. And we're getting this stockpile down. I'll eventually buy some more. The only reason I don't have more now is I went to make my water the other day, and I have 2 bottles of lemon juice here because there was not enough room on the shelf for my lemon juice. I overbought something else. So, and that happens a lot. And in fact, if you look at this, that's what this is right here. Right here are things that I overpurchased and they will not fit in their proper place. And rather than get everything mixed up, I go through and pick the oldest can out and I put it right there on top of that microwave. That's my official spot for that. And whenever we have a meal, I'll always go right here first, make sure of what I got, and then decide based on that so that I can keep this down to a minimum. There are a lot of times when there's nothing up there. We just did a big cleanup, which is the reason that I'm doing this video now. And because before it was really sloppy, I had two of everything down here, and because it was so sloppy, it was hard to rotate things. So when I would get new things in, I wouldn't put them up on the shelf. I'd set them down here until I got time. And this way, it's looking nice, so the video is going to come out nice. Whereas before it wouldn't have. But as I was going through all this, I found some cans that were rusty. I found some cans that were like 4 years old. So I took all that down and put it on here. And we have slowly but surely gotten rid of everything except these few items that are over the limit. And in fact, you can see they have no dates on them. So this is not that old, because when I redid all of this, I kind of redid all of it. So I didn't put any dates on it because it's understood that everything up there was from a couple of months ago. And as I am cycling things out, the newer cans that comes in will get dated. That way I know to eat the ones that don't have a date first. You'll notice there are some spaces that are empty. And I like to buy these full cases of stuff. And so what I'll do, rather than replace them one can at a time, which is, I really never do that anyway, I'll wait until there's enough space for another box. And then I'll pack it in. But in general, if you go up there and you see you're missing one can of beans and one can of corn, that's not worth purchasing one can of beans, one can of corn. I mean, it's too labor intensive to rotate everything out every time you go to the store. So what I'll do is I'll wait until I see that a pile is getting close to being emptied, so that I only have to take 2 or 3 cans down to refill that space. And that's my system, and I think if you were to do this, it would be your system too, because it's just the only way to do it that won't drive you nuts. So anyway, that's what this is like. Soup, and then there's green beans and tomatoes and black eyed peas, asparagus, cut yams. And another reason this is almost empty is because I've been buying all my groceries off of Walmart.com lately. I ordered asparagus, and when I went to pick up my order, they were out. I mean, they were out of Libby's, out of Great Value, out of whatever, all the different varieties of asparagus, and that happens a lot. I've noticed that asparagus sometimes will be there and sometimes it won't, and several items are like that. But I have another .com order in, and this time it says they're in stock, so hopefully I'll have that today, actually. Next place, we've got all of this, and I bought these things from, I don't remember where, Lowe's or Home Depot. This is just seasonings. And I've got it in my head that I wanted to use up all these seasonings. I mean, we always use like garlic, salt, pepper, but we don't have that much of a use for a lot of this stuff. This is like we get an urge to go try a new recipe, go down and buy a seasoning like curry powder, use it once, and then it sits there for decades. So we're trying to kind of mix that in with our food, whatever, cook the dog food with it, and get it out of there, because we really just need these basics that we use, and we can get 2 packs of each of those, because we go through a lot of salt and pepper and Italian seasoning, taco seasoning, or chili powder, the basic things that everybody uses. And got a little cornstarch in the back of there. Up here, this is like salad items, and so yeah, we keep a lot of baby corn and 4-bean salad and things like, black olives, because I do, as a diabetic, I feel like one of the secrets to managing my sugar is to make sure to eat a salad every day. And salads get really boring when it's nothing but lettuce, tomato, and cucumber. So we like to throw things in. In fact, I'll usually put in some raisins or dry cranberries or peanuts with my salad. And over here we've got like sliced beets and sauerkraut. Now, sauerkraut, I say I've got one over here because I bought too many of them. But sauerkraut, I don't like it, and I don't hardly eat it. But every day, another secret to managing my diabetes is kimchi. If you're diabetic, I promise you, you really need to try eating kimchi every night before you go to bed. And watch what that does to your sugar, because it seems to help me quite a bit. But I've got this urge now. I've developed this desire, craving, that I can't get through a night without eating my kimchi. But it's a refrigerated item. The Asian grocery store is 15 miles that way. And so when I run out of kimchi, I don't stop what I'm doing to go to the Asian grocery store. I can come eat this sauerkraut, and it kind of, it fills that need. Yeah, that's basically it. It's just a lot of seasonings, and we do buy in bulk when we can. Things that, and this stuff seems to last forever. This is dried onions, and if you don't have any real onions in the fridge or in the onion drawer, this will do it. Anyway, that's my upper cabinets, because we could make this a 2-hour video and I could show you everything I got in the house, but we'll go ahead and break it up. The thing about canned food, and I know people are going to tell me I'm wrong, but we got in our possession a whole bunch of MREs, thinking that would be the ultimate survival food, the stockpiling prepper food. And first off, that MREs are not as good as what you're used to, or at least it's something that's an acquired taste. Health-wise, they're not at all good for diabetes. They're very expensive. One box, last time I checked, was like $90 for a case of MREs. And they don't last that long. And they take up a lot of space. You think about it, a can is round. And so it's, like a square can, you could just stack them up and there would be no empty wasted space. But MREs are like big old air balloons with a little bit of food in it. And it produces so much waste. When you get done eating an MRE, you have a pile of garbage that's as big as what you started with. So I highly do not recommend MREs as part of any kind of prepper program. In fact, I don't even acknowledge that prepping is what it is. I don't prep for the apocalypse. I don't believe that's even going to be necessary, because the Antichrist is going to take over soon, and you can believe life is going to be good for consumerism. So we're not going to have one of these events where everybody runs out of stuff. Now, where I live, it happens occasionally, because when a hurricane comes through, it takes about a month before you get groceries again, regular groceries. And so if you don't want to be waiting in food lines, it's good to have some stuff stockpiled out of the way. But I mean, now they've got the infrastructure up pretty good. Everybody complained about what FEMA did after Katrina. But come on, I was here within a very short amount. For about a week, there was nothing going on. It was just dead. But there were no people here, just me. In my neighborhood, I was the only person that was still here. But after about a week, power company trucks were just pouring in. By the hundreds from every direction with all different company names on them. And FEMA was down here handing out boxes of food and water and ice. They had set up emergency, hospitals everywhere. And so, and then they're getting it better every time. I honestly believe that this will never be used. The only thing this will do is keep me from having to go stand in one of those lines. I'll have my food here, so I don't have to do that. But really, I just don't like going to town. When I go to town, and I don't even go to Walmart anymore to do any shopping since they've come out with that Walmart groceries. I can call them. Of course, they're getting backed up, so now it doesn't take an hour for them to get your groceries anymore. It takes about a day and a half. But I can go online, I can type in green beans, and it'll show me every green bean that is in my local Walmart. And then it has the prices and the price per ounce, and it's laid out very neatly. When you're in a grocery store and you're trying to find the cheapest price per ounce, it can be confusing and you feel kind of rushed. You don't want to be there. You can sit in your recliner in your comfy house and examine all that and make your orders and make them logically. It's easier to use logic when you're sitting in a recliner looking at computer screen than it is when you're in a crowded store. And you press the button, and the next day and a half later, you go down there and you park in their little space. And you call them and say, "I'm here," and they bring it out and load it in your car, and you leave without ever going in there. And your credit card information's on the system, so they don't even ask you to pay or anything. All you do is you sign saying that you got the stuff. And so far, there has not been any issues, with one exception. When you do an order like that, they give you an option of substitution. And so I thought, well, you know, it says right there they're not going to charge you more. So if you order the cheapest thing they got and they have something that's more expensive, they'll give you that instead at the cheap price. So I thought, that's a good deal. Well, I went down there to pick up some sausage, and I said, "We had to substitute your sausage." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine, I don't care." He said, "Well, you ordered mild, and all we had was hot." Now, that's a little bit different. My wife hates hot food, but I knew that even if she wouldn't eat it, that I would eat it, and I didn't want them to run back in the store and do anything. So I just said, "I don't care." So, you know, they'll do that. If you order a bunch of stuff from them and they don't have the stuff you want, they'll make substitutions, but sometimes substitutions may not be what you want. But they do have a good system in place, because the last time I was there, I got something, and it was the wrong oh, cranberries. I'll show you this. Somebody a couple of years ago gave me cranberries, and when I ate them, they were so good because they were this kind. This is the cranberries, whole berries, got chunks in it. This is the jellied cranberry sauce. This doesn't have anything. It's like eating a can of Jell-O. Well, this is the one I want. But when I go to the food bank, if they give me a box of food and there's cranberries in it, usually this is what's in there. But they are the ones that taught me about this, so I'm always hopeful that they'll give me that. When I went to pick up my groceries at Walmart, they had substituted cranberries. And what they did was they put the jellied cranberries in there. I said, "Well, I don't want them. You know, I can come pick them up anytime." They ran in and got me Ocean Spray, which is a little bit more expensive than the Great Value, and they just gave it to me without charging me any extra. So that was a good thing. Not that it makes a difference, because it's probably the same factory pumping them out, and when they run out of Great Value labels, they just put in a box of Ocean Spray labels. And I mean, honestly, that's how that works. But if you notice, I've got these in the same row, and they're stacked one on top of the other. It's a kind of my system for making sure that I don't just eat all of the whole berry cranberries, because as I'm going through here, I have a tendency just to eat the stuff that I really like and kind of pass over everything else. But I've kind of forced myself to stick to eating what's in front. And sometimes when I do want a choice, if there's two of them stacked there, I can pick either one, you know. So, anyways, we'll do some more videos about my food storage system at a later time. And as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.